Let's have a conversation about pay discrimination in the workplace. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. I've been counseling men and women for many years now who've experienced abuse, as well as those who have been perpetrators of abuse and violent crimes. I've also worked a bit as a corporate consultant with businesses to reduce toxic workplace toxic environments in the workplace. Um, One of the things I wanted to get on here and talk to you all about is pay discrimination. And again, I know that there is like this movement to minimize or discredit, um, you know, how people of color, especially Black and brown people, feel about disparities when it comes to things in the world. And, stop making everything about race, but truly, there are a lot of things that can be attributed to race. And one of those things is pay discrimination. Which means, and pay discrepancies or disparities. So, for example, me being a Black woman, being paid much less to do a position, the same position that a white woman would pay, despite having higher education and more work experience. And I'll tell you, this happened to me many years ago. Me and another woman, I worked at a hospital, Novant Healthcare in Charlotte. I did, what I did was I did referrals and things like that and ordering of procedures. This is a lifetime ago, back when I worked in the medical industry. And, so the referrals, it's like, one of the top positions in the office. You have to be able to work with insurance and billing and things like that. There's a lot of moving parts to referrals and authorizations, and I did that job backwards and forwards for many years. Not only that, but it was one of the top paying positions in that facility where I worked. And, me and another girl that I had known, I trained her and worked there, and so she worked with me, and we were the Black women who did referrals and authorizations and things like that. So what my manager would do, he was a white man, what he would do is he would have me cross-train other white women in the office to do that job. Not that they were ever going to take that job, but what he was doing was he was having me cross-train those people. Now, I think that job was like a level 4 or level 5 position, right? But I think they kept my title at a level 3 with level 3 pay. But what he would do is he would have me cross-train white women to do my job and give them a level 5 position and level 5 pay. And so we saw like what he was doing, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing that anymore, because they're not even doing the job, and you're not even giving me the pay when it's time to give the people who are actually doing the job the pay, and asking for, what we're entitled to. It's excuse after excuse after excuse. We can't do it, this and that and the other, but you want me to do it. And so finally, the woman that I was working with, she like physically lost it and had an outburst one day about like just like the disparities that was happening and what he was doing, and how he was being biased and prejudiced, and was actually, having us train people and giving them the positions instead of giving the women who were actually doing the work the positions. And she let him have it. And from that day forward, he could not speak to her directly, right? Like he was like fearful and intimidated because she let him know like what time it was. And that's just my little backstory of one instance of this happening. But really and truthfully, it happens all the time, where it's like, there are these discriminations, where management can decide who gets the bigger raise, or who gets the bonus, and what kind of feedback you're going to get to determine that, all of this kind of stuff. And also to figure out, despite us hiring you, this is where we're going to put you on a pay scale within this position. So there is a lot of discrimination and bias when it comes to pay. And of course, to people of privilege, it's like, why are you harping on that? And white fatigue and blah, blah, blah. But, this kind of stuff, it really does affect a person. Not only that, think about how many doors remain closed when there's a discrepancy in pay, when there's a discrepancy in how people are treated. It's essentially like, I'm doing work for pennies on the dollar, and what you're doing is wrong. And so you're trying to do these workarounds and be secretive about it. Meanwhile, you're advancing other people in trying to gaslight me and telling me that, oh, there's nothing there. I don't know where you're getting that from, all of this kinds of stuff. But there really is this huge discrepancy when it comes to that. And, in a time like right now where economic times are very challenging, that is definitely a person's livelihood. And it always struck me as peculiar, or like, oh, what's the big secret about when jobs say, hey, we don't want people getting together talking about what we're paying you. Well, why not? If everything's so fair and on the up and up, why can't people talk about openly about what they're getting paid? Why can't all salaries be transparent? Like, we need to know what's up.